part A, part B. So I think if we're talking about, obviously, they will need to watch part A first, but just so you know that this will be a good thing to split again in the middle like last week. So
yeah, cool, fine. Yeah, the high workload, stress, absolutely. High workload, 100% it is. I mean, I think I remember back to like A-level psychology or something, that the most stressful events, some of the most stressful events are up there with sort of moving house and things like that. I'm not sure if I agree. I think I've had far more stressful, but obviously there's a hell of a lot of factors that go on in your life that will absolutely ramp stress up. And again, if we only see it as the psychological state, we are going to have issues, because there's things that we can do physiologically, physically to control this. It is actually a physiological state, and it changes the way that our body's dealing with things. Low energy, lack of focus due to work stress. Yeah, absolutely. Poor appetite. Yeah, absolutely. Appetite gets switched off with this sort of this initial stress response. So guys, these are all things, and everything that we're talking about there is a physical response to that, and there's a reason why that's happening. Here's some of the things that when we're looking at stress and what it actually is. So high stress, we know that it will directly impede recovery from training, but it's a sympathetic state. It is the sympathetic state. It's the thing that we talk about when we talk about sympathetic physiological state, sympathetic nervous system. We are talking basically about stress. You know, you could replace the word sympathetic to stress in most of these cases. And what it's going to do is, for the time when this state is dominant, it's going to decrease muscle recovery, reduce blood sugar control, increase heart rate, increase blood pressure, break your muscles down, switch off your digestion, switch off things like sex drive. Anxiety is going to be through the roof. You are constantly on edge. Your breathing rate increases. Anything that's not essential for health stops. And this is the sympathetic state. And this is basically what stress does. Now, here's where the issue comes in, is that our stress response is not bad. It's just that it's designed for these emergency sort of survival periods more than anything. You know, we've evolved a stress response to save our life, to run away from the tiger and things like that. Where we set it off in day-to-day life at the minute is far, far too often, far too frequent. Emails come in, we get stressed about, and text messages come in, we get stressed about them. So rather than that couple of times a day, really high stress, really high energy output, go and survive, and then switch off again, which is our evolutionary stress response. We are constantly running really high stress, and problems start to arise when we're doing that. Now, can we completely switch off from this level of stress? No, not really, because it is something that we need to deal with. You know, you are going to have stressors come up. The way that you cope with stress, the way that you deal with it, your stress management is going to be the key, not only to sort of getting on top of your health, but also making development in your performance, making gains in your training and making real progress. Getting on top of your stress is going to be absolutely crucial for that. So we'll talk about that in a second in terms of the management strategies. And I think Jay will probably come in a little bit more when we talk about management of these things. But before we move on, I want to talk about sleep, because we tie these together, and even in our videos that's on the members app, we generally tie them together. I will put those as the videos essential watching for this week, is just understanding recovery and understanding stress, again, to a bit of detail. But if you're watching this, realistically, we're covering most of it anyway. Sleep is a key parasympathetic process. So sleep is your rest and digest side of things. It's recover. It allows your body to recover. And for me, this is something that realistically, long-term, you should never be sacrificing for the sake of anything, to be honest. Your sleep is going to be so important. If you are not sleeping well, if you're sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, for most people, that's not going to be anywhere near adequate. If you're trying to train, there's higher stress on your body, on your system as a whole. So again, it's still not going to be anywhere near adequate. Can you cope off it? Yes. But coping and sort of making sure that we are optimizing our body and getting on top of our health overall. And guys, for me, I'm sure that you already know this by now, but for me, being on top of health is the first consideration before we look at anything performance, body composition wise, because if we can get on top of health, performance, body composition is all really easy to do. If not, if your health is struggling, the underlying health, if we're not on top of these basic things in terms of, you know, just getting your body functioning properly, then making body composition changes gets really difficult. And this is probably these are the biggest factors that I see that stop people from getting results. That's why I spend so long talking about it. Here's some things that sleep does. Removes waste products from your brain and body, helps to boost immunity, fights infections, all your key anabolic processes. So not just building and repairing muscle, but also building and repairing everything else, you know, building up enzymes, creating things, getting your body able to digest food, improving digestion, resetting any damage, rebalancing all of your systems, improving your performance, improving your focus, improving your creativity. You'll think better, you'll be more alert, you'll recover faster, you'll get more adaptation from the training, and generally you'll be healthier overall. So if there's a way that you want to sort of destroy your health, cut your sleep out is probably the fastest way to do it. So now we know this. Again, this was all sort of to frame the background of it. We can now talk into the actual management of it. So Jay, I mean, for you, I know that stress management is something that you make sure is, especially with your clients, generally sort of people that tend to be busier and dealing with most of this. But stress management is absolutely something that comes up. I know in all of your programs, for the last year or so, maybe 18 months, it's been part of all of mine. But there's some really key things to actually think about. So perception, when it comes to stress, perception is reality. And I think that people, this sounds a little bit woo, so people sort of ignore it. But at the end of the day, if you're getting extremely bothered by things that are either outside of your control or within your control and not as big an issue as you're framing it, you know, you are setting off all these triggers of this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue. This alarm is going off constantly in your head. When in reality, framing it and looking at it in terms of how big a problem is that in like overall, you know, bigger picture, how big an issue is that? Is it worth being stressed about? Is it worth overthinking about? Is it worth stopping my sleep? Is that small stressor, that being stuck in traffic or getting a bad email that, you know, you don't want to see, or having to sort of divert off your perfectly planned day for 20 minutes. Stressors, and they are all, you know, going to have an impact. But guys, you have to be aware that if you are letting that become something that is up here in terms of, you know, that's taking you past your limit of stress and that's going to ruin your entire day, well, then that's not only ruining your day, but it's also ruining your training progress. It's starting to have a massive impact on health as well. So from a perception point of view, you need to be aware of that. We need to be making sure that we are realistic about how big an issue certain things are.
So stress. Talk about stress. What is it? Well, it starts with a thought. Whatever's going on, it starts with your brain thinking something. So thinking either something is going to happen, thinking what could happen, thinking what has happened, what impact that is going to have. So the way that I look at it is that the stress response is a response to thought. And one of the things that people don't do enough of is try to train their ability to deal with thought. Once that thought enters your head, it's your reaction and your response to that thought that will decide whether you're stressed about that event. Does that make sense? So like, you know, you see something, you get a text message like Josh says, that then creates a reaction from your body. The physical reaction is there, well and truly there. It's been ingrained in us since we was fighting tigers. And hopefully you've all heard the story that I sort of say is that stress is always going to be part of everyday life. But I think our ability to deal with that changes from person to person. And some people say to me, I don't get stressed. I'm not stressed, but I can't sleep, or I'm not stressed because I don't know, they just don't get stressed. But everybody should get stressed. If you don't get stressed, it mean that you'd not see danger. If you didn't get, you know, everyone will get stressed. However, people's ability to take the same thought, the same person can have the same text message and deal with it in two completely different ways. And that's because of the process that happens. Once that thought enters your mind, is it a passing thought or is it something that you're going to cling on to? And the better you can train your mind, and the more, and I had a conversation again, God, I have had a lot of conversations today, but this another one where someone was asking me about sleep, and I was like, well, have you ever considered like meditation to try to not clear your mind, all the stigma around meditation? I can't do it, it's not for me, I don't have time, all this. Basically, if you imagine that the more you can train your mind, the better you can be at dealing with thought, the more capacity that you've got to deal with thought, and the more ability your brain has to be able to absorb what the reality is and what the what the possibility is, are two very different things. You've got to have a good balance of that. You can't have too much anxiety about what's going to happen and be always stressed and always on the spot, because that's not practical. But some people are like that. Other people are a bit too lackadaisical, and it stops them from feeling like they're driving. And then what I also get, again, is this comes back to webinar week 1. What is the story? People tell me that just because something's been a certain way for a long time, they've dealt with stress a certain way, they've dealt with I don't know, anxiety a certain way, they've always been like that. I've always been like this. It's different. I don't need it because of this and this and this. But I think what happens is that they become, there's something in psychology where if you get told something and you say something out loud, I don't like meditating. Your action on the back of that will stop you from wanting to go and meditate. And I'm not just talking about meditating, I'm talking about any trigger, anything that's sort of sleep and stress. I don't eat very well, I've got a bad diet. Any statement that you make on that day, your mind will do things that it can to help you sort of follow your statement, because you don't want to be seen as like going against what you said. So when I suggested meditation to someone earlier, I'm not meditating. The reason he will not meditate is partly because of that statement. If he now goes back on that statement, he might be able to say to me, you know what, I was wrong. I should have started meditating 10 years ago. But it's very, very unlikely that someone, when they make that statement and they have them sort of statements that it's not for me, I'm no good at it, is going to go to a room for 5 minutes, sit down and come out with a positive attitude about meditation. They're just not going to do it. So we need to really have this. And I say an open mind, a clear mind, is that stress, consider that every single person that's in a very, like, and I'm talking about like the billionaires of the world, the multi-millionaires, the CEOs of massive companies. And I tried to find it today, actually, before this. I tried to find today CEOs or top 100, FTSE 100 companies, that sort of thing, that don't meditate every single day or don't have meditation or form of all these different things, exercise daily routine of sleep, daily routine of food, daily routine of exercise. Didn't have a good structure on stress management. No matter how you do that, there wasn't one person that I could find that really simply said, yeah, you know what, I just get on with it. None of them do. They are doing their thing to control their level of stress and how they respond to stress. So from my point of view, I'm not an expert at stress. I get stressed. I have bad days. I have good days, bad days. I'm the same as you guys, But what I do know is that I'm giving myself a much better starting point should I do certain things in my day. If I tick some boxes, first thing in the morning, I go for a walk. If I have a good bedtime routine, if I eat healthily, if I train, if I'm fit, I know that by doing some of those things, I'm putting myself in a better position to deal with all this. Whereas some people will accept that they're just no good at it, and that becomes, like I said, the story thing. I really think that we need to try to sort of open our mind a little bit to explore new things. The amount of people that have told me this week, for example, that they struggle with sleep, yet they have no idea the thing that impacts sleep. They're stressed out. I'm stressed out, and I can't sleep. But that's the same person that has a conversation with me about not willing to meditate. And I think, well, you've got to give yourself the chance. You've got to open your mind to take new things on board.
Yeah, for me, I had almost the same type of conversation yesterday morning. I was on the phone with someone that struggles to sleep, and has struggled to sleep for a while. And the conversation was, well, have you, what's your routine to switch off? And we'll go into this a little bit more on the next slide, but particularly around meditation. Well, meditation just doesn't work for me. Right, okay, well, what about not meditating? What about, well, when I don't meditate, I'll sit there and I'll lie awake for hours with the same thoughts bothering me for three hours at night, and I won't be able to get to sleep. Meditation, I think that people expect to be able to do it and switch off straight away. I still personally have not mastered that yet. I still cannot just sit and all of a sudden, if something's bothering me, be able to switch it off, be able to stop thinking about that without any other intervention, without any other thing going on. What I can do, and what I do all the time, and again, generally run quite a high stress life from both a training perspective and, business perspective as well. What I can do is distract myself from those thoughts. And if I can distract myself from those thoughts initially, and I can do that using meditation apps and things, because, the apps that help you to meditate, that just have a voice talking to you, they can keep you distracted from the other things. And then once you've had that initial distraction, then you can start to switch off. And I think that that's a really important piece to sort of say and to consider, is that if you are able to distract yourself initially from those thoughts that are really sort of bothering you, and from that state, and change your state, even if it's not to thinking of nothing, to the sort of meditation where people think that it's just complete zen, even if it's just distract yourself from those thoughts, be in a better state, then you're in a better place to get back on top of what you're trying to achieve.
Just on this point, guys, we have got a video of meditation. Josh, is it on Kajabi or not?
Yeah, it's on the members site. I can. What I'll do is I'll attach it with this to this week's videos.
I think that'd be great. I think, guys, just Rick just commented, struggle to do breathing meditation, but I'll do my own version. Look, meditation, there is not one version of meditation. Look, meditation, breathing control is really good for relaxation. Being able to control your breath and breathing is something that scientifically will help with sort of bringing heart rates down and things like that. It's not the be all and end all. What meditation can be for different people is different things.
I think meditation's probably sort of 15 years on from the word diet. I think that the word diet went through a phase where we had to almost stop using it because of because people automatically thought, I don't want to go on a diet. Even if they did want to go on a diet, everyone got told to stop using that word. Meditation's almost there at the minute in terms of people hear meditation and don't want to know, even though that is actually when you sort of say, well, what it's going to do is stop this thought from absolutely battering your mind for the next 4 hours and allow you to change your state. Well, that's exactly what people need and exactly what they want. And again, I just feel like for me, it's almost like a lot of people have this negative sort of picture of meditation, when in reality, for me, that's why I've put on the slide meditation and changing state, is that, some people think they don't want to meditate. What we know that they do want to do is change state. And that's sort of the main point of it. Just jumping back to a few more of the questions.
Yeah, mindfulness is good, but you need to keep practicing it.
Absolutely.
They say that meditation, they actually say that trying to get your head around meditation can be anything. Like, some people get it straight away. I think first sort of 3-4 weeks, I reckon it took me to get into it properly. But I think for the average, I read something today actually, it was about 8 weeks, I think, for the most people to start to really feel in control. And that's practice. Start with 2 minutes. Start with a 2-minute rule. Do 2 minutes of meditation. 2 minutes of sitting there and count your fingers. Can I feel my left hand? Can I feel my right hand? Becoming body aware. I think from a training point of view, the other thing that's good about that is that it allows you to really start to get to know how your body feels. Can I feel any niggles? Am I pain? Is there any pain? Is there anything stopping? Once you've got, and I've closed my eyes doing that, so I'm not falling asleep. Once you've got that to grip with, like, your body, it's like mind and body connection. That's what's so important. Having 2 minutes in the morning or whenever to actually link the two things together, breathing, mind, body, limbs, whatever it is, I think really can give people a much better start. I'm like the rest of you, not the rest of you guys, because I know some of you already do meditation, but I'm like a lot of people. I'm from Burnley. This is like a bit of a taboo subject. Yes, my mum's got a yoga studio and is very spiritual as a person, but a couple of years ago, if someone would have started to mention this to me, I'd have probably had the same reaction. I'm not meditating. God, I don't like yoga. I'm not meditating. I'm not doing it. And it's not about that. It's genuinely not. This is, the reason that I do it, it's to help my business and my relationships. It's helped me, but it helps my business more than anything. I think Josh will agree. You can see, Josh, like we've got our own coping strategies for stress, haven't we? Josh tends to just get up and go for a walk. And I'll just say I'm not doing it right now. I'll come back to it. I go up in, just take myself away for 10, 15 minutes when I feel like I need to, because that is my sort of stress management strategy. I also think that there's a big thing with linked to sleep on this. Once your energy is low, if you are not giving yourself opportunity to recover, you're sort of putting pressure on yourself, and maybe sort of all the things that we've spoke about in the previous webinars, if they are not very clear, focus, clarity, understanding what you've got to do in a day, having a plan, writing down your goals, saying this is what I'm going to achieve today, this is how many times I'm going to work out, this is what I'm going to eat. If you don't do them things, you create extra stress. If you aren't organized and you haven't got down on a piece of paper for tomorrow. I wanted to bring it to this. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is one of. Can you see this, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the books that me and Josh have designed and stuff over the years. And these were what we did a course on not stress management, something similar. It helps with mindset. And one of the biggest benefits of the course that everybody said was that if you have got your weeks planned out, where you know exactly what you're doing on what weeks, and then get to the point where you've actually got, can you see this, Josh?
Yeah.
You've actually got your days planned out, what you've got to do, what the most important things are. Once you've got the clarity of this, absolutely that helps with stress, because even if you feel like you're losing control, and like I said a few weeks ago in a video, that once a thought enters your mind, you've got the opportunity to deal with that thought however you want. And if your brain, I call it like a snow globe, if that's sort of spinning round and it's always there, it's not going away, you sort of look that way, it's still there, it's still there. If you can at least control the things that you do control, like the three most important things today, you already understand some of the challenges that you're going to be making at the minute. Sleep's a big one. Stress is a big one. If these are challenges that you have to, you know that they're stopping you with progress in your session, then you need to make sure that you do something to control it. People that have the same issue over and over and over and over again, without trying to actively deal with it or implement a new element to deal with it. I always get stressed. Stress hinders me. Too busy with time. Can't sleep very well. Like my conversations today, but you ask him what he's doing about it, and he's like, "Oh, it's just always been like that." Well, I don't accept that. I'm the type of person that just wouldn't accept that it's just always been like that. That's how it is for me. I'd be like, bullshit. You've got to do something different. You've got to give yourself a fighting chance, especially with these sort of things. And if you're not actively seeing it as equally as important as your nutrition or your diet or whatever else, then you're making some mistakes, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what I'd say is show me someone that runs really high stress, that does extremely well long term with the training and with the health and with the fitness, without stress management. And I'll tell you exactly why that works physiologically. Because, for most people, you physically can't do it. You need to be on top of this. Just pulling it back to the slides and to the questions. Rick, 15-minute nap in the day, is it useful? The 15-minute nap in your day can potentially be useful, but what you've got to think of is, because naturally we sort of have this dip, usually you're around sort of after lunchtime, where your body is sort of wanting to get into that parasympathetic side. It's not just a really awake to gradually more tired throughout the day. You sort of go through this sort of bit of a dip and then pick back up again in the afternoon for most people. So potentially it's quite a good time to put in. Again, certainly if you've not been able to have enough sleep in the evening. However, for most people, I think that your number one priority is get enough sleep in the evening. It's certainly not a good idea if it lasts for too long or it starts to affect your sleep, your main sort of sleep cycle in the evening. Because again, when we look at sleep, it can work to sort of help to refresh you and things, but if you miss an hour of sleep in the evening and then catch up an hour of sleep in the day, because of the way that sleep works through cycles, we don't know if that's going to have, it's not going to have the same effect. We don't know whether it's going to have a particularly positive effect or not on that one. So again, having a nap can work really well for some people. It can help you to sort of kickstart that parasympathetic state. But again, it's not necessarily a replacement for lack of sleep during the night. In terms of anything else, yeah, if you're just jumping in now, you've missed absolutely loads. Make sure that you catch up. Guys, so just pulling it back to this slide, managing your training as well. I mean, we spoke about perception, we spoke about awareness, we spoke about meditation. Managing your training is absolutely key to this, because if you're in a high stress state and you are already sort of long-term, you're driving your heart rate up because you are living a really high stress life and you're not sleeping like that much and things like that, and your training is the thing that you're thinking is helping you to switch off, but you love that high intensity side of training, you love going all out all the time, well, again, it's sympathetic drive, so it's going to continue to drive these things up. So yeah, we can look at exercise as a good thing, but realistically, what we've got to look at is balancing the nervous system as well. And if you're not doing that, it can be an issue. Managing your training in terms of lower intensity days, higher intensity days, so that one, you get the performance that you need, but two, you're actually looking after your health, is going to be really important. Healthy triggers to switch off. We spoke about this plenty of times. You know, if you're the sort of person that switches off when they walk into a pub, not now, when you get a beer from the fridge and you hear the can open and then straight away you're on a relaxed mode for the weekend, well, your trigger is sitting down opening that can. It's nothing to do with having a drink of it. So it's that you've got that trigger that has helped your body go, oh, I can relax, I can switch off. Create some other triggers, and, you know, do this to help you sleep as well. But this is where the meditation side of things comes in. For me, meditation's, you know, not that important to actually call it meditation. It is create a trigger to change state, and meditation can be an extremely useful trigger to change state. Like Jamie said there, organization and planning. How often do you get bothered because of a lack of planning, a lack of organization, knowing that something needs doing and not knowing when you're going to do it? That's going to add to your stress. If you can control that, pull it back in. You know, we don't always need to be full on 100% or no stress at all. Make sure that you're managing it to something that's going to work long term. And if not, if this is something that you're not managing, again, guys, put your health first and make sure that you are looking at stress management, sleep management strategies, as these need to be up there. This and exercise needs to be up there most of the time throughout your life as a priority. If it's not, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And obviously exercise, eat well, sleep and rest. Now, moving on to actual sleep strategies. Have a regular sleep schedule. This is so important. If you work shifts, this is an absolute nightmare and it's extremely difficult to do. And I'm not going to really go into how this works when you are a shift worker. There's probably a certain amount of time that you potentially shouldn't be doing that for, and I honestly don't believe that everyone can do it. But make sure that you've got a regular schedule, and this is going to be best utilized if this matches your actual, your physiology, but certainly matches something that you can do consistently. So, for example, the reason that teenagers can sleep in so late usually is the fact that their schedule gets shifted, so they tend to want to sleep later and want to wake up later. So, it gives an extra couple of hours, where that's why some people can sleep into sort of midday when they're 15, 16, 17-year-old. For most of us watching this, obviously that wouldn't happen. Your schedule will be shifted. But some people naturally want to be up and awake earlier. Some people naturally want to be going to bed a little bit later and waking up later. So making sure that you get adequate amounts is important. Where possible, try and set that schedule based on what you need, not based on other people and not based on too many other schedules. Now, I know there's a practical element of that, of realistically, if you have to be up for work, you have to be up for work. So then it comes down to making sure that you're doing all of the other things to help you get to sleep at an appropriate time and get enough sleep. Make sure that you're taking time to actually wind down. Don't ever go from this high stress state where you are busy or you're coming straight off the computer or straight out of a training session and then trying to get straight to sleep, because it's just 9 times out of 10, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And even if you are able to get to sleep, you'll probably find that you're waking up far too often and your sleep is nowhere near as restful as it could be. So, mindful of training times. One thing that's really effective that I think people absolutely neglect is using light. So getting up and, you know, if you're tired when you wake up and you're constantly wanting to go back to sleep, get outside and use daylight. You know, seeing daylight can really help you to wake up. It's just a biological function that we've got. It triggers your body to reset that rhythm and reset that body clock of saying, right, now it's daytime, I should be awake. It's a physiological adaptation, biological adaptation that we've got that helps us to regulate when we wake, when we sleep. Now, avoid TV. For me, there's a factor that obviously your blue light you want to avoid as much as possible late in the evening. You know, when you're trying to wind down, if you can avoid this sort of blue light and avoid anything particularly stressful, you probably should do. So stressful movies and stressful things on TV and things that you really focused on watching and really need to concentrate to watch, they are going to be issues. Cheers, Kev. Thank you.
I hope that's not.
And you are?
I hope that's not a coffee.
No, it's a tea.
Oh,
And I actually, unfortunately, need to train after this. But luckily, I don't need to wake up till late. So, but yeah, guys, so, you know, using daylight and reducing blue light and things is important. And avoiding TV late in the evening could be a strategy that works for you. Now, if it's just on in the background and that's fine, and it's on a sleep timer and things, and it's not affecting you, then great, go for it. But you might be better audiobooks, podcasts and things that don't have that light implication and putting a sleep. I mean, that's how I sleep pretty much every night. It's either an audiobook or a podcast that I'm not really that interested in. I'm not bothered what they're saying. I'll just sort of drift off with that on, and it'll be on a sleep timer. So it might be on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then it'll turn itself off anyway. The phone's at my side, so I can't really hear it anyway. But they are really useful strategies. Avoiding caffeine. If you're struggling with sleep, like I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, really struggling with sleep, and it's, well, you know, do you have a lot of tea and coffee? Yeah, constantly everything I drink is tea or coffee. Right, what time? Well, I'm knackered throughout the day, so to keep me awake in the evenings, I'm drinking tea and coffee all the way through, and then I get to bed and I'll take a coffee to bed with me because I know I'm not going to sleep. Or, you know, guys, obviously, you know, there's implications of that. And what the coffee is doing is it's getting rid of this sleep pressure and it's stopping you from wanting to sleep. So mega important.
It's not, yeah, it weren't just you, Alison. Fucking hell.
No, yeah, no, these are conversations that I have quite a lot. So don't panic about that, guys. This is a common thing. I think that everyone thinks when we talk, the reason that this is part of our triangle of sort of three really sort of main pillars that we wanted to cover on this course, and it's covered throughout the key 5, and I'm calling it a triangle, but at the end of the day we're on about stress, sleep, fulfillment, actual recovery and things. So it is our key 5 that we're talking about today, and it's 3 elements of our key 5 need this controlling. The reason it's that important is that this is the thing that stops people doing well. You know, I've given people good plans for the last 10 years. I've only been getting people sort of on top of this side of things for maybe the last 4 or 5.
One thing that I think is important about the TVs and stuff is that think about.
Well, hang on. Let me finish going through it. One sec, guys. Avoid large meals too late, because at the end of the day, this can create a little bit of distress, and it can increase your body temperature and things as well. So that can wake you up, and that can certainly disrupt your sleep. Keep your room cool and dark, because a very small amount of light, like I said, light is triggered even if your eyes are closed to wake you up and to sort of obviously stimulate that your body should be waking up at that point. And obviously stress management. Now, Jay, go. I've covered everything from there. So
I was thinking about the thing what people sort of try to do is that routine is essential. I think the most important thing, the regular schedule, the routine and things like that, it's really important that you have other outlets. You don't necessarily have to change everything, but you've got certain things that you need to be doing on a daily basis, like checking that your doors are locked before you just go to bed. Things that we just know help that little bit. And it's if you add them little things up, like Josh says there about not watching anything. What it is with the TV is if you're watching a murder documentary, at sleep you need to be at peace and you need to feel safe and secure. So when you go to sleep, anything that's a worry or anything that gets up, gets you anxious or anything like that, if that's on your mind, it's going to keep you awake. Hence why we're driving meditation, that sort of thing, if we can get rid of that thought. What we want to sort of say to you is that what you need to do is tick a couple of boxes before you go to bed. At 8 o'clock, have a bedtime routine, have a tick list. Lock your doors, be secure in your house. Think right back to the start of this slide where Josh was talking about that saber-tooth tiger. Why can we not sleep? Well, we can't sleep when we feel unsafe, when we either think there's a bang downstairs, we're worried about something at work, that's unsettling to us. That stress response is still in our mind and it doesn't allow us to sleep, because rightly so, way back when, if there was a tiger breathing over you, you wouldn't want to be asleep and not waking up. So it's got to keep...
I feel dead safe when I'm asleep because my dog sleeps outside my room. It's just when I wake up and have to go to the toilet, I feel really unsafe, really unsure.
But, you know, tick the boxes, do the things that you know can help it. And once you do that, and there's not so much thought going through your mind, people talk about social media because it's thought-provoking a lot of the time. Sometimes you'll see something, you might read something on social media at 10 o'clock at night that says, oh, really pissed off with fucking government. You disagree with it and you're like, what a dick. I'm not going to, you know, you have a go at that person in your mind that creates that stress level increase. So we say remove it, because if you allow yourself to get that stress level, whether you like it or not, it's the same with watching murder documentaries or anything where someone goes to sleep and someone breaks in their house and goes and kills them. It's not going to help you sleep very well. You know, you're going to be triggering response. It's going to be opposite to what you do. And I think it's important that you sort of give yourself a fighting chance. That's what is important, isn't it?
100%. If you're triggering that stress response just before bed.
Josh, how long have we got, by the way? People's asking.
This is the last slide, except the questions. I've just seen the question there for, hoping to do a digital detox before bed, so I'm up in time. Is there a lot left? This is the second to last slide. There's just the questions to go. But it brings me on to one of the topics in terms of avoiding TV. Well, if you're going to avoid TV for a light purpose, do you want to avoid your phone and everything like that? One really simple thing that I advise absolutely everybody to do is set your shift on all of your screens. I don't think you can do it on TVs, but you certainly can on a phone and you certainly can on a laptop to go with sort of daylight hours, or even earlier in summer if you prefer. But set your shift so that you turn the sort of blue light side of things off. It becomes a much more warm, red sort of orange spectrum of light, which is going to trigger this wake up signal less in your body. So if you are thinking about doing digital detox and things like that, and you want to sort of switch off from that, yes, there's the distraction side of things. There's a what are you actually watching, but there's also this light component, and make sure that you have got all of your screens shifted to like a night mode so that it is making the most of that. So yeah, I think in general, Jay, anything else to cover from this? Because I think that we have pretty much covered everything that you need. Alcohol, the only other thing is alcohol. I've not really said anything about that. Alcohol will get you to sleep. It will almost knock you out. Sleep, like I said, works through stages, and some are really restorative, regenerative, some aren't. And basically, when you're knocked out from drinking alcohol, you don't get the restorative, regenerative sleep. You are basically just pretty much knocked out throughout it. So just because you might feel that you get to sleep sooner, it's absolutely not a strategy that you can use to be thinking, oh, well, this is going to improve my sleep. It is always, always, always going to make it worse. Pretty much no exceptions. So now I think I've covered that. Jay, you good to move on?
Move on, man. I'm tired.
Right then. So last bit, guys, just answering some of the questions from this week. How to adjust calories for my goals. One thing that's come up is when people are weighing in and they're not seeing results, or they are seeing results and not sure whether to change your calories. One, make sure that you're watching the energy balance video and the sort of monitoring weight video and things. But realistically, if you are confident that you tick all the boxes we spoke about last week in the webinar in terms of are you ready to diet and are you ready to focus on body transformations, then let us know if you are not seeing results and if you're thinking that your calories might need changing. We should have seen it and we will have seen it if you put it on the check-ins. but I know that we've not explicitly said this to you guys. So if you are not seeing results, if body composition is a main goal and you are not sure what you're seeing or whether you're seeing results, make sure that you speak to us about it. We will tell you whether you need to adjust your calories or not. Again, this usually long term, this is quite simple for people. We can say go into a maintenance amount and it's going to be this much, or go into a diet amount and it's going to be this much. But if you're still getting used to how many calories you need to eat to gain muscle, to maintain, to perform, to cope with different amounts of training, or to diet, then it is quite complex at first. So speak to us. But in essence, if you are planning on dieting and you're not seeing results, and you are at a stage where everything's healthy and you are ready to diet, then in that situation, we are either going to pull calories down to see weight loss faster, or we're going to bring training up to see weight loss happening faster if necessary. And obviously vice versa if muscle gain is your main sort of goal or main thing that you're looking to see. Jay, anything to add for that?
Nope.
Cool. Do any refeeds after training sessions? Completely dependent on your goals, completely dependent on what you're trying to achieve. So if you're going for fat loss, then potentially not. However, if you still want efficient training, you still need to get that energy back in. And certainly if you're looking to maintain muscle mass, you need to get that energy back in. So this is going to come down to how much training frequency you've got. If you train every day and you need to replace the energy so that you can train efficiently either later in that day or again the day after, you certainly need a sort of to schedule your meals and your food around your training. If not, if you're only training 3 times a week, as long as your daily calories are being hit, you don't really need to worry about it too much. But this needs to reflect your goals. Again, in some circumstances, you probably want to replace the glycogen, dependent on, so any high intensity training, I would usually say, yes, that wants to be replaced before your next high intensity training session. But that's not a one meal thing. That might be, if you're training high intensity properly, then you're only doing it maybe twice a week. So you've got 3 days, well, your glycogen store's going to refill in 3 days, unless you're on a low carb diet or training far too much, then yes, you're going to replace it anyway, so you don't need to worry. Manage everything else, you'll be fine. I get pain doing certain exercises. Should I stop exercising or should I carry on? Somewhere in the middle. So if you get pain doing certain exercises, what's the pain coming up from? Should you stop exercising? If it's a degree of anything that is going to be a high risk or sort of red flags or dangerous, then yes. So please always let us know about pain. We will speak to you about it. And if we deem it a risk, then it might be a case of pretty much stop exercising while we figure out what's going on. And we'll bring other teams of professionals and things into that. If it's certain exercises, you get shoulder pain with press-ups and things like that, you can send us videos of how you're doing it. There might be mechanical adjustments that we make, or it might be that some exercises just aren't appropriate for you, or you don't need to do them. There's never an exercise in the entire sort of book of exercises, which isn't a thing, or it's certainly not a thing that we use. But in all the exercises in the world, there's not one that you must do. You can fit it around you. You can fit it around what works. Do you need to do phase 1 on this training plan? I've already answered that. It's absolutely yes, you do, and you need to realistically do a full 2 weeks on phase 1. Otherwise, you're not going to get the benefits from it. How do I adjust the workouts? In total, guys, make sure that you're working out at a level that is appropriate for you. So we spoke about this a little bit earlier on in this in these slides. Rather than just cutting the rest time down and doing more reps, that's going to change the stimulus. That's going to change the entire picture of the workout. So if you're supposed to be doing between 10 and 20 reps, make sure that the exercise is appropriate so that you're hitting your limit somewhere between 10 and 20 reps, at least a couple of sets in. So make sure that you're doing that. If you're able to get 40 reps with no issues, so you're just cutting all your rest time out and you're doing way more, you need to let us know, because it needs to be a more advanced exercise that's going in there. That's why we've got so many progressions of exercises. So that's how you adjust it. And then if you want to add weight sessions in, which are available now on this plan, conditioning sessions, finishers, just speak to us about where they go in. Because again, I won't put something in if I don't think it's helping you move towards your goals. Yes, you can always do more, but remember, there's always a cost, always a negative to any training session that you do, and there's not always benefit. If there's not a benefit to it, it shouldn't be in there. And that is everything, because the finishers and things like that will be available on the app at some point tomorrow. We'll be putting them on Facebook and things. and you can just tag them to the end of the workout if you want to sort of just challenge yourself a little bit at the end of the workouts. Guys, that is us done for today. Jay, anything to add?
No, mate. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
That's us. Cheers.
Yeah.